Alright, here we have the new 2024 Specialized Epic 8 S-Works. We're going to be doing a full build today, and we'll show you guys the goodies that it comes with. Fully wireless dropper sheet post. So no cables, just Bluetooth and a battery. This is the new Ram Reverb. Pretty sick. Okay. Put it to the side. This bike is absolutely beautiful.
You can't hurt me back. Alright, Griffin, take care. Put him on a video.
You gonna put the lights on?
For somebody else.
For this build, we're going to be using Pro Tools. Right here, we have the 4.56 millimeter. We also have the 2.5, and the 3 millimeter. And just in case we need them, we have the T25, T30, and the T40 torque spits. So stay tuned for the aftermath video where we'll do free head body sound test.
No. Green.
Take his autograph for
Alright. First thing you want to do is you want to put the seat post on the bike, which is what we're going to do. Here we have the bike. And the 4 millimeter, we're just going to include it, put the seat post in. Keep in mind you don't want to go any higher than the minimum insertion. So we're going to, I like putting like 3 inches on it so the clamp can grab the sheet post itself, not the suspended part of it. Keep that in mind. You don't want to clamp the cylinder like that's in there, otherwise it'll back to it. Put it on the top and place it. And now we are ready to unpack the bike. So we're gonna go ahead and grab some dikes and we're gonna go to town. We're going to go ahead and remove the pedal covers, and we're going to put them aside because these always get lost. So you want to make sure that you put them aside so that way they don't get lost. Holsters, you always want to save these. You don't want to lose them, otherwise when you put pedals in and you don't have them in, there's a chance that the pedal will seize on the crank arm itself over time, and then it's just a pain to get them out. And again, we removed the pedal, the crank arm cover for that, and then we're going to keep unpacking it. What? You also want to be careful when you cut out the handlebar from the packaging itself that you have something holding it, or you're holding it with your other hand, because if I cut this, it'll release it. So most of the times people cut them, it lets loose, hits the frame, then you got a scratch mark on it that you didn't want. So just be careful where you put it. So from factory, most of these bikes, at least the S-Works one, are going to come with a cardboard spacer in there because they give you an integrated handlebar stem. So you got to make sure that whenever you take this out, that you're holding it with one hand. You'll see me when assembling the bike, but just keep that in mind. You want to keep this together until the last moment when you're going to put that handlebar on the bike itself. Whenever you remove the foam padding or anything that covers the brake levers, grips, anything like that, you always want to be super careful as to where you lay the handlebar on the bike itself, just to make sure that none of this scratches any of the shock, any of the frame, any of the body. And obviously, we always save the foam, reuse, reduce, recycle. We try to be like eco-friendly when we can, and it helps us save some money on passenger bikes. Thank you so much, Javier. You always want to be careful when unpacking the shocks right here. This right here has a little bit of tape, so you always want to make sure that you cut superficially, so that way you're not damaging or scratching any part of the shock itself. Keep in mind this is a smart shock unit, so any scratch on it, you want to keep it nice, so that's why they always cover it. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you're unpacking. I like saving any documents that come with the bike, so stickers, owner's manuals, anything like that. I'm the type of person that really wants to look at stuff whenever I buy it. Especially if you're spending $14,000 on a bike, I want to make sure that the customer gets all the goodies that come with it. So let's keep it going. So far, so good. I'm just going to remove this last piece of cover. Keep in mind you have your brake caliper in here as well, so be careful not to pull it, tug it, or be rough with it, because you have your hydraulic hose in there as well, so you always want to keep that in mind. So we're going to get this out. And this one comes with the ULT SRAM level brakes, which are pretty awesome. Right, so for the top bolt, I believe it's going to be a 4mm. It comes with a top cap cover, so you always want to make sure you set this one aside so you don't lose it. Alright, so when doing this, you always want to make sure that you have your tool right here. You can let the handlebar hang until you're ready to install it. Typically, I like just kind of like wrapping my arm around it because I'm also going to be grabbing the shock, so I don't want to touch any part of the frame. I'm going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here. And it will allow me to pull off that cardboard cover that we talked about earlier in the video. Once we remove this, we can go ahead and keeping a little bit. Sometimes you're able to let it hang because the spacers are kind of holding it. So you want to be super careful. Work this in right here. Sometimes they tighten the bolts. How do you play hold of this one? You gotta make sure you loosen these first. Little mistake I made, but that's okay. So keep in mind, you see how the shock started to come down when I put pressure on it? That's because right now there's nothing holding it, so you always want to keep that upwards pressure on the shock itself. So that way you're able to like wiggle the handlebar on little by little. It doesn't need a lot, just a little bit. screw that on. Should be able to. We might have to add a spacer on there, so we're gonna. Yeah, you don't want this amount of space showing up, so we'll put a pin on this real quick. Alright, we're opening the parts box for it. We will be. This is pretty much the essentials bag. Stuff that comes in here as well is going to be your owner's manual, couple goodies, couple stickers on there, as well as your RockShox manual, couple stickers on there as well. Same as the bag that we opened up earlier when we unboxed that rear shock. So we're going to be opening this up. So a couple things that come in here. More stickers. There's an adjustment for the suspension. Typically you don't really mess with these unless obviously you want to make some like extraordinary changes to the bike itself, to the way it feels, that type of stuff. This is going to be the Garmin mount that comes proprietary to that handlebar. We'll be installing that later on the video. And I'm looking right now for a top cap cover, as well as the shifters for the bike itself. Keep in mind this one comes with the new SRAM, so the shifters are going to be little eggshells, I like to call them, but you want to make sure that you get all the parts for them out, so that way installation is pretty smooth. Going to be these tools right here so they're not in the way. Typically reflectors, I like throwing them back in the box just in case the customer does want to include them in his build. This is the bike for the floor, so I'm not going to bother putting that in there. So we'll put all the parts. These are caps just in case. They come with the Roval carbon wheel sets. If you wanted to make the bike tubeless, you would pretty much remove the tape. You would pop these in there, and then the bike would be technically ready to go tubeless. This set of wheels, the Rovals, also come with the tubeless caps on there. You would pop these where the spokes would pretty much go into if you want to make the wheel tubeless. I like coupling this with tubeless tape as well to make the bike a lot more resistant to leaks, couple things like that. Reflectors, I'm not really worried about having them. Obviously we put them in the box just in case the customer does want to go with them, but typically they never really do. They end up getting like a set of lights. Keep in mind this is a mountain bike, this is not something that's going to be ridden on the road itself, so I am not worried about the reflectors being lost and not being installed for the bike. Cool thing about the S-Works bikes and anything that comes with SWAT, they pretty much give you a mountain bike toolkit when you purchase the bike. So this is going to be their proprietary SWAT tool. Comes with pretty much everything you need to adjust the bike on the go, just in case anything happens to it. Alright, I think that's it for this one. I'm going to be going ahead and opening the SRAM box for it. Let me put all these. Alright, this is the SRAM box. It's going to come with all the SRAM goodies that you'll need. This is a 4 battery charger. I'm not going to open it because obviously as a customer I would like it to be sealed, but this is pretty much what it looks like. We have all the batteries charging right here. It's going to be the 4 battery charger for that bike. That's the one that's included in here as well, which is, it's honestly a pretty nice addition. I know retail for this is around, I think it's $120 if I'm not mistaken, but we can always double check. Alright, let's keep going. I think this is the mud guard if I'm not mistaken. Right. Oh, okay. So right here, they also, when you purchase an S-Works bike, they'll provide you with a pretty nice set of carbon fiber cages. In this case, they gave us the Z cages for it, which are really, really nice. These are also compatible with the Schwab mountain bike tool that they also provided us. This would bolt onto here, so that way you get a nice smooth loop. Obviously, you guys are gonna see it once it goes on the bike. So these are all the Schwab goodies. So this is pretty much all the stuff that will go within the frame when you're putting the bike together. We'll show you guys in a little bit, so that way you guys can have an idea as to what it looks like. Alright, so right now we put that spacer right below the handlebar. You see how we have, I want to say about 1/2 centimeter of length right here. That's typically what you want, so that way the compression cap, when you tighten that bolt, it creates that pressure you want. Typically a lot of customers, whenever they have a little bit of play on the headset, this would be the bolt that's loose. That's the number one thing we always check whenever a customer brings in a bike with a concern, such as a loose headset, rocking, a little bit of play. So this one we're gonna tighten to 5 Newton meters. So I don't know, if you guys have a torque wrench at home. We do have a couple here, thanks to a couple sponsors. So this one is going to be a torque wrench from Cycle that they sent over to us, so that way we can get that done properly. So we're gonna go ahead and get the 4 millimeter. We're going to go ahead and tighten that bolt, 5 Newton meters. Once it clicks, you know it's pretty tight, so we don't really have to mess with it. Obviously, typically 5 Newton meters is the goal. You want to make sure that there's no play, that the headset feels smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten this handlebar to 5 Newton meters as well. We can do final adjustments at the end, but typically I like putting the handlebar straight on from the get-go, so I don't have to adjust it later. If we do, it's just loosen these 2 bolts right here, so that way we can readjust the handlebar to make sure it's aligned with the wheel itself. Next up, we're going to be moving on to mounting the caliper on there, and then setting up the SRAM flight attendant for the customer. Alright, so now we're going to be mounting the brake system on there. They gave us T25 bolts, which I have put onto our torque wrench that we were using earlier. I put the adapter on there, so that way it's nice and smooth. When mounting a mountain bike braking system, you always want to make sure that you secure the hose, which they give you 2 clips right here in order to secure it. I like pulling it up, so that way I have a little bit of slack on the cable itself, and you're going to route it inwards. I have a lot of people that route them out, but that is not the correct way. Also, something cool I like to mention. The new Epic 8 will come with blockers, the steer blocker, so that way you're not able to overturn the handlebar. They did this because of the shifting system that we'll be installing on there. You'll see as to why they have done that and what benefits it also gives you. So we're going to be going ahead and grabbing, we can let this hang right here and grab our bolt, and then we'll be putting this through, so that way we can secure that bolt in there. There you go. We'll grab the second bolt, throw it in there. I'm not going to tighten these all the way up, just enough to get them snug, because I still have to adjust the bike, or the brake, should I say, to the rotor itself. So we're going to be mounting on the wheel right after this. We're going to pump the brakes a little bit, get them nice and ready, and then we're going to tighten these bolts up to spec. You want a little bit of play on there, so that way the caliper's moving a little bit, because if you look at it from this way, right here, you'll see that the rotor will begin going in through here, so you want to make sure that you get a little bit of play, so that way you can adjust the brake caliper to it. Alright, we're going to be taking off the through axle right here. We're going to be feeding in the wheel into here. Keep in mind the caliper's loose, so you're able to like play with it a little bit. But something you always want to make sure with these wheels is that you press in the hubcaps, because they'll be a little loose. They'll give you a little bit of trouble in there when you're trying to get it in. Once you do, they'll fit in pretty smoothly, and then you grab your through axle, feed it through, get your handy dandy 6mm Allen key wrench, and then tighten it. If we spin the wheel, you're gonna hear rubbing from the brake caliper. That's why we're gonna adjust that brake right now. We're gonna be pumping the brakes a little bit so that way you can see the brake caliper moving a tiny bit. So we're gonna spin the wheel, hit the brakes, and then we're gonna tighten it up. Alright, we're going to be angling down the brakes a little bit more so that way the rider gets more of a flush feel on there as well. So that way, because typically you're hunched over when you're riding a bike, so you want the grip to kind of like, you know, be a little bit smoother. Like if you see my hand right now, you see how my hand bends downwards. Especially if you're like in an aggressive position, this is going to be a lot more comfortable for some people out there. Now go ahead and get the right shifter ready. So typically the way this is mounted on, you would have your shifter. This backing plate goes right here, and then obviously you would clip it onto the brake itself, as I'm about to show you guys. So this would pretty much go in here, and then we would so we're gonna be going ahead and we got this right here. Feed the bolt through it until we feel it grabbing, and then we're gonna torque it to spec. This one says 2 Newton meters, so I'm not gonna do it too tight because this one's a 5. So just enough so that way it feels nice and snug. I'm going to try to match the same adjustment as far as the length for this shifter, which means I have to angle the brake pretty good. I'm just going to push this in a little bit more, and then we should be all set. Right there, it's pretty good, and then we're going to adjust the so it's a tiny bit more. Typically, most customers are just gonna mess with this by themselves, so I try not to, you know, make any big changes to it. Just something to get it kind of like going. Make sure it feels nice. Make sure it looks nice. But yeah, then we're gonna get started and set up that flight attendant system. Now we're going to pair it. brakes, and then we're good to go. Have a pedal on there, so we can shift it better. We're gonna be putting one pedal on there so we can adjust the gears better. So typically, in the back of your pedal, you're going to have an Allen keyhole, which is for the 6mm right here. So you're gonna put it through the crank arm. I'm not going to put the washer in because we're taking this one right away, so I don't find the need to do it. But you're more than welcome to put the washer on there if you're going to put pedals on for long-term use. Just knock it on there and we're going to check the gears. Then we're going to be taking off that pedal. If sometimes you struggle when taking off pedals, something that you might want to do is put pressure on the pedal, and then with this hand, with the right hand, you're going to pull up. So that way that'll loosen the pedal up, and you'll get it out. Obviously, you'll probably need to do a lot more force than what I just did, because this was a freshly installed pedal. With older pedals, you're going to have a lot of gunk in there, you're going to have a lot of like rust. Maybe if the mechanic that built the bike didn't put grease in there, it might be a lot more seized up. So just take your time, try with some muck off, some W40, so that way the bike can be, so that way you can replace those pedals properly. We set up the suspension, so the suspension is through here. I was just checking the droppers. This is the suspension, so you activate the suspension with this one. So right now it's open, we can lock it for pedaling, and then fully lock the suspension, so it's a fully interactive suspension on there. Alright, and we're going to be going ahead and getting this one set up. And something cool that this S-Works bike, what the S-Works bike comes with, is that SWAT storage right there, which is where we're going to be putting all the goodies and stuff like that. They give you a SWAT bag for it, so we're going to be opening this up, and we're going to be putting it inside the bike for you guys. So this is the SWAT bag that they give you. you want to put it in back first into the frame. So that way you're able to put a couple stuff in there. Right now it's empty, so it's really flimsy, but the swap bag will go right in there. If you need to use it, you just pull this. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. I'm gonna be closing out that SWAT storage, and then you guys will be good to go. Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And any questions you guys might have, just drop them in the comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as we're able to. Okay, thank you so much.